thoughts in your mind that you aren't good enough, that you'll never be successful? If so, you're not alone. I've had those thoughts playing in my mind ever since I took the leap to become an entrepreneur. It's a dirty, dark secret that no one likes to talk about, as the glamorization of becoming an entrepreneur is shown in the media. I realized that in order to succeed, I needed help. We all do. So I decided to go all in on myself, spending thousands of hours in the trenches, reading, joining groups, listening to podcasts, hiring coaches to develop a bulletproof morning routine for success. Join me on my journey as together we build our morning fire to ignite our lives as entrepreneurs. My name is Jeff Wickersham, and this is the Morning Fire for Entrepreneurs podcast.
Welcome to the Morning Fire for Entrepreneurs podcast. I am extremely excited to have special guest Mike Verret on the show. Mike, welcome to the show.
Jeff, thanks for having me, man. I'm a big fan of what you do, and I told you backstage, I just hope I can keep up the energy.
There we go. Well, I know you can. So we're gonna do some breathing, get the energy level up, and then we're gonna have a tremendous conversation and discussion around advertising and marketing. So let's do 3 power breaths in through the belly, up through the chest. We'll raise our hands. Go ahead, breathe in and out. Good. Another breath in and out. Final breath in and out. All right. Now we'll get that energy level up in 3, 2, 1, and boom.
I'm ready. Give me one more. 3, 2, 1.
All right. 3, 2, 1, and boom.
Boom.
There you go. There you go. Love it, Mike. Love it. So, morning habits, rituals, routines are what I eat, sleep, and breathe. So what are, 1 or 2 things that you do every morning that set you down that path towards success?
Yeah, it's an important way for me to start every day, actually. And it's not even just about success. And it works for me. My dog and I get up at 6 a.m. and we go to the dog park until 8:30. And during that time, I don't work. I play with my dog. I sometimes will even take a Zoom call at that time, but I tell people this is the dog park time. So what you're going to see is my dog. And that's something that I have to do every day when I start my day, whether it's Monday, Tuesday, Saturday, Sunday. It's the same ritual for me. But the big parts of it within that are also my ability to take time. That's my time to take time and almost do the same kind of exercises that we just went through. A big part of it for me is I'm a very anxious person. I worry about things. So the ability for me to slow things down when I first wake up is what's most important for me. I wake up, I get out of bed at 6 a.m. and I'm operating the car with my dog in it at 6:10. And I grab my coffee at Dunkin' Donuts. I love iced coffee from Dunkin' Donuts. And we go straight to the park. And that's how I start every day. And when I come back and get to work for the day, I feel like I've level set. And that's sort of like, what's the important thing in my head? My mind is like this. It's erratic. It's got its highs and lows. So for me, it's important to level set. And that's what I use my morning ritual for.
Nice. And the one thing I love there is you do it every single day. And if you're getting up at 6, by 6:10, you're headed in that direction. And I feel like so many times, if people give them large spaces, large gaps, that's where the anxiousness might creep in, right? Some negative thoughts might creep in, where if you know exactly what you're going to do when you wake up, it does not give the mind the ability to shove anything in there that's going to knock you off kilter, right?
Exactly. And I'll give you a great example of its importance. Recently, I've been talking to more clients overseas and internationally, and time zones have become something that I have to pay a lot more attention to. So I wasn't paying attention to that when I had my Calendly set up. And all of a sudden, people are scheduling meetings with me between 7 and 9 a.m. And I had to go in and address that immediately. I went into my system. I said, no meetings before 9 a.m. except for 2 days a week. And I tell those people I'll be at the dog park because I need to be, when you're talking a 12 to 14 hour time difference in some cases, or even a 9-hour time, you have to be available early. So that's fine. but I learned how to insulate myself from that a little bit to maintain that ritual as best I can. There's always it's 95% risk mitigation. It's not 100% solution. That's how I think about it.
Yeah. And to your point, you probably got a couple of those calendar invites pop over during your time and you were like, what the heck is going on?
Exactly.
And so many people will just let that kind of control them moving forward. Okay, I've got overseas clients. This is just the way it is. But it isn't. You have complete control. Now, you still need to add some time in because of the time zones, but you've already raised the subject that you're going to be at the dog park because this is what I typically do. So you're still keeping that routine. So that's amazing to hear. So advertising and marketing, I know that's your cup of tea. Give the audience a little background on your experience, and then let's get into some specifics.
Sure. So I am a product of the advertising and marketing world, 17 years on the agency side, and then 6 years within the brand marketing organization, or the brand management organization of Hasbro Toys and Games in Rhode Island. And I live in Rhode Island now. And over that time, I tell people that I've done everything in the marketing spectrum, from concepting a brand based on an insight of opportunity to writing and starring in the commercial for it in my career. So it's basically been 24 years of learning business along the way, the business that I'm in. And the key to it all for me was always the audience, whether it was who we were talking to as the client's audience for their brand or product, or the people within the agency, the people, our clients, whoever it was, the audience was always first in mind for me. And my last assignment for an agency was with Hasbro's agency. They were based in Dallas, and they had me on site full time at Hasbro. So I got to manage the boys' toy business. You and I are both quite aware of the effects that things like Transformers and Marvel and Star Wars had on us as kids, and remembering that and being able to work with it was great. When I transitioned over to, when they hired me onto the brand team, I started out on Transformers. And now right away, I'm thinking, this is going to be amazing. I love Transformers. I get to make the toys, and I'm, real green, just entered the brand marketing world. And 6 years later, when I exited that world, I was miserable. I was unhappy, and it took me leaving there to understand even why. And here's the thing. I was in a 6-year relationship with this company where what I was good at and what I understood had nothing to do with what was going on. It wasn't necessarily about the toys we were making. It was the process to make them. Same as making trash bin liners.
Right.
And everything there was type A personality, MBA grad. They would climb over my corpse to get the job that I had as a senior brand manager. So it was not the best time of my life, but at first, the biggest benefit is it gave me a crash course in business. I understand from an MBA perspective, I'm learning from all of them, and I understand business now. But the other thing that happened was the last 4 years I was there, I was face of Hasbro Gaming. They sent me around the world 35% of the year, presenting to audiences in Hong Kong, in India, Brazil, all over the US, and presenting to audiences that are internal stakeholders, buyers of our product, and consumers of our product. So my job was to understand an audience and communicate a message to it, to that audience. What I realized was I became known in an organization of 8,000 people for that.
Okay.
They knew who I was, what I was good at, and they'd send me out to do it. So I left Hasbro. I was let go as part of a corporate restructuring, take 10% down because our numbers are down. No problem. I had seen it happen every year I was there. I hugged the VP when I got let go. I didn't realize I had no morning ritual. I went to bed miserable. I woke up miserable. I was miserable at work. I didn't have any ability to see outside of that sort of, And even when I was looking for a new job, I was looking in marketing agencies and marketing like brands, just trying to get back on track with what I used to do or think I should do. I got let go. It was like euphoric. All of a sudden, 36 hours later, my 15-year-old daughter says, "You know what, Dad? You're a nicer person now." I'm like, Oh my goodness, I couldn't see any of this happening to me. But what I knew is I understood an audience. So I created my business. When I left Hasbro in the corporate world, I created a business that I believe in and that I can drive forward because I know it has meaning. I show businesses how to talk about themselves to their audience. Because the reality is businesses, big or small, are so focused on what's important to them, and everything is important to them. They don't realize that only 2 to 3% of that is important to their audience, especially at point of engagement. And I relate it to a resume. Everybody has written a resume, and we spend a lot of time showing everybody where we've been, what we've done, what we've accomplished. But the reality is the person reading the resume, the employer, spends an average of 7 to 9 seconds with that document, which means by definition, all they can consume is the top sentence. And that has to connect with them and grip them to read all the stuff you spent that time doing. So I approach business messaging the same way, and I show them what their audience's perspective looks like of their message and show how it resonates with them or doesn't. And then the process is you got to be first, best, or different. And first and best is really, really hard to come by. That's like the 1%er, right? But different, every business, big and small, can do in the mind of their audience, of their consumer. So I show them how to be different and connect with their audience, with their message in the right way, at the right time, and in the order that the audience needs to hear it.
Gotcha. Love it. Love it. So a couple things I heard there. One is the resume example. That's pretty powerful when you frame that up from a marketing perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're a solopreneur, entrepreneur, and you've interviewed somebody, you know very well that you don't scan the whole thing and read it in depth. So having that one line be so impactful, and then transferring it over to how does that elevator pitch for your business grab people's attention. That definitely resonates with me, and I think that's so incredibly powerful. As well as I did make the notes first, best, or different. And to your point, yes, being first or best, that's very difficult. But being different is, everybody can be different in some capacity, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I see it. So even an example, real-time example of my time at Hasbro, I came from the advertising agency world, so I had a critical eye when agencies came in to pitch us. Now, the nature of that relationship started when we did research, found agencies we wanted to send a request for proposal to, sent them our goal, what we're trying to do, everything, and asked them to come in and present the response to it. 4 agencies come in. The first 3 lead with, we're an ad agency, here's the work we've done. I know all of that. I sent you a request for a proposal. Do you really think I haven't done that due diligence? And now it's half an hour into the meeting, and I still don't have an answer to my question. A request for the proposal that has my goal, objective, everything in there, what I need. And you come in and start with that, you're already at a disadvantage. 4th agency comes in. They say, here's your challenge. Here's how we see it. Here's our process for solving it. Here's work we've done to validate that process. Which one is talking to the audience? It's not rocket science. One of them is talking to who they're talking to. The other one's talking to themselves. So that's the simplest way to think about it. And I even tell people when I'm talking with them, go on Google, put in your profession, what your service would be searched for by any audience. What do you want to be searched for? Even if you don't come up, look at the first 3 that do. And I guarantee you're going to see similarities immediately. And you're going to start to notice that they talk about themselves the same way. So if you're a plumber and your plumbing website says, we're a plumber, call us. And then the next one says, we're a plumber, call us. But there's one guy who says, things are going to go wrong at the wrong time, and that's when you need us. We'll be there in 15 minutes. I'm already looking for a plumber, but one of them knows now exactly the state of mind I'm in. Right. And that's the key, is getting your audience connected to that. So what I do with the elevator pitch, you mentioned the elevator pitch. I actually created my own philosophy of it, if you will, that if you look at my LinkedIn profile, it says I show businesses how to talk about themselves. And I had someone mention to me yesterday, I really liked your elevator pitch. And I said, buckle up. That's the first floor. I'm just getting started. because on my elevator, it has nothing to do with 10 seconds in one sentence or 20 seconds in two sentences. It has to do with how long the audience will stay on the elevator and ride up with you listening to your story. So if I can intrigue them when they step on the elevator and they're about to push that button, I have a much higher likelihood of them staying on board and listening to my story. So I work with businesses in a simple platform where it's first floor. That's connection. That is your point where you get them to say, huh, that's interesting. Very simple. If they assign meaning to the first thing out of your mouth subconsciously, like if I said I'm a marketing consultant or something like that, I immediately am assigned value. But if I tell them something that's obscure enough and speaks to what I do, they want to know more. It's human nature. So a friend of mine in public relations, she started her agency 35 years ago. And since day one, when people ask her what she does, she says, I make news. And I get such a kick out of that because you don't know if she's a gossip, like ending up in the gossip column as an unruly celebrity, or she's a news broadcaster or PR. But she's intrigued me to ask more. And that's the key to creating that story and that message for your business, is creating that level of connection or that point of connection at the beginning, the top of the resume.
So from that example, it's curiosity, right? It's the curiosity that pulls somebody in to make that connection. And without that, and you see it everywhere, right? It's very monotonous. It's to your plumber example. Yes, those first two aren't getting the business. The third one is getting the business because you're already stepping into conversation that prospect is having in their minds, and they're going to say, hey, this is my guy. He knows, and he's going to be here in 15 minutes. You're already giving a little piece of value of what your story is, of how quickly you're going to get there. Do you know
what my initial thought was when that one agency said that? It was, oh, good, they read the RFP. Right? Because the other ones didn't even let me know that. I didn't pick up on that right away. But this one was, okay, they read it. They know where they're starting. They already regurgitated to me my challenge and told me how they see it in their eyes. I'm aligned with what they're going to say next. And it becomes an order of information that you're actually communicating to an audience that is not unlike a well-written, frequently asked questions page. What is it? The most general thing is at the top, but it's a funnel of information that goes from general to specific. It doesn't go general, specific, general, specific. It doesn't start with this and then tell you what it is. If you think about a business message, that's the exact way that people think. So I make sure that people align with how that person is going to receive information and what's the best order to deliver it so they follow along. So if you start with, here's our services, they have zero context to what you're doing. But if you start with, here's your challenge and here's our unique way of talking about it, they attach to it immediately. And then the more personal you can make a message to someone or a business, the more effective it's going to be. So to illustrate by example, if I told you and say 10 other people to think about Santa Monica Beach, the pier in Los Angeles, all 10 of you are now arrived at a postcard for all intents and purposes. But if I say to you and the group of people, think of a beach, every single one of you goes somewhere completely personal and unique. And you attach to it. And I tell everyone everything I know is from the movies. In the movie Inception with Leonardo DiCaprio, they say an idea is more contagious than any virus and more addictive than any drug. Because once you've adopted it, you can't get rid of it. So getting people to align with that feeling or align with that idea of, I do know what that feels like, or I have been there, or I have tried that, you're immediately aligning with the idea that's already stuck in their head. And if you can align with that, they're going to keep going. From there, it's order of information. It's what's the problem and who you're helping. It's your solution, how you do it, what you offer, and top floor is that call to action. Gotcha. For me, it's a free. I call it free. Everybody tells me to call it complimentary. I keep slipping up. For me, it's a complimentary 30-minute phone call. That's all I focus on, is driving to that. But everything that leads up to it is my complete story, and I grab the intrigue from the beginning. So once these businesses have that story, all they have to do is take that and hand it to a web developer or use it as their presentation at a sales meeting, or
Mhm.
say it on an elevator, and it's always the same thing. It's always consistent, and they become remembered for it. That's differentiation.
Yeah, and I love the consistency piece, right? Of just saying it over and over again. And I find myself so many times, it's like a broken record, but you're speaking to different people. And I think
Yeah.
human nature always steps in, is like, gosh, should I say the same thing again? Right. But
Yeah.
you do, because that's the consistent message you want to deliver. And you never
Yeah.
know who's watching. And with the algorithms, especially if you're doing a post on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, people aren't all seeing it. So repeating it over and over again is the right way to do it, and to be consistent about it. So yeah.
Like
absolutely.
if you can be remembered, so just to use you as an example, there are people who technically and generally speaking do what you do, but your brand, your personality and attitude are the two assets that any brand has. Doesn't matter who it is, McDonald's or Jeff Wickersham. Those are the two assets that you have. One is a constant, one is who you are. So you would never start a business and start dunking your face in a bucket of water and doing 100,000 pull-ups or all these things that you're doing if it weren't already part of who you are. That is not something you can manufacture. Okay. So that's one, is understanding the constant. And then the other side of that is your attitude. And the attitude you have 100% control over. In fact, it's the only thing you have control over. So here's who you are, and how you modulate that for the audience is your attitude, how you bring them into it. But you never let go of that morning fire or personality, and you reflect and project that attitude to your audience every single day. That's what you should be doing, because it's your identity. That's who your brand is. If you look at me, I know that I spend 8 hours a day in this chair. So I made sure the chair matches my butterfly wings. And I make sure that nobody ever sees me other than this, if this is the image I want to build. And I never say anything about my business when somebody asks, other than I show businesses how to talk about themselves. That's my elevator, not the pitch, just the first floor. But that's how I approach it, because I want to maintain that consistency and be known for the person who can give you your audience's perspective and show you how to adjust it so you connect with them better.
Love it, man. Great tips, great strategies, Mike. I truly love everything that you laid out there. Simple.
Thanks.
Yeah. So profound. So if you're watching this, go ahead and rewind it if you need to, because you definitely, there is some absolute gold in what Mike just said from a marketing perspective. So Mike, where can people find you if they want to get that complimentary 30-minute session?
You can find me on LinkedIn. It's very simple. Just search Mike Verret, my last name. But the easiest thing to do if you want to get in touch is just visit my website. And it's Verret and Associates. So VERRET AND associates.com. Right here. Whoops, I'm leaning the wrong way. And there's a green button, schedule now. So I love hearing about what people are doing for their business. I don't even care where it leads. I'd rather sit in this chair all day than have to do other stuff like paperwork. So I love meeting new people and hearing about what they do. That's the easiest way to get in touch.
Thanks, Mike. I truly appreciate you being on the show.
Jeff, this was fantastic. I appreciate the opportunity. I was this close to asking you if I could be on. I'm so glad you spared me the embarrassment.
There you go. I'm glad I beat you to the punch. So I appreciate you watching. Appreciate you listening. Have an amazing rest of your day. Rise, fight, love, repeat. Get after it, and I'll talk to you soon.
How did I do? Wait, I can't hear you.
Thank you for listening to the Morning Fire for Entrepreneurs podcast. You now have the knowledge, but without action, knowledge is useless. Choose to act. Choose to step into your greatness and unlock that hero inside of you. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and leave a review so more entrepreneurs can hear this message. If you absolutely love this podcast, which I hope you do, then share it up with someone you know who might see benefit from it. Become that beacon of change, and together we can impact the world.